Hello everyone, welcome to the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra's Rhythm and Recess video series. I'm Mark David, Music Director and Principal Conductor of the NSO. Each Wednesday morning at 11 for your recess break, you can join one of our principal players who will share with you knowledge about the instruments they play. This will be done by performance, storytelling, and art, just to name a few. You will also learn about the origins of our Newfoundland music and many other things too. You can access our free, easy-to-download student resource anytime by visiting our NSO homepage. Click on Education and Outreach and then click once more to access our Google Drive. Once inside, you will find videos about the orchestra families and the various instruments, as well as many PowerPoints and activities related to composers and their music. You will also find lots of musical arrangements designed just for you. Thanks for spending your recess with us today, and now let's get to know your NSO.
Hi everyone, my name is Dominic Greene. I'm a violinist with the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra, and today I'm going to give you a short presentation on traditional fiddle music in Newfoundland and Labrador. So to open up the presentation, I thought I would just start by playing one of my favorite pieces of fiddle music. It comes from Newfoundland. It's composed by Emile Benoit, who is a very famous Newfoundland fiddler, and it's called Skeleton Reel. It's always been one of my favorites. So what do we mean when we talk about traditional fiddle music or traditional folk music? Well, it's music that comes from a very long time ago that has been handed down from generation to generation to generation in something that's called an oral tradition. Now, what do we mean when we say oral tradition? Well, an oral tradition is something that's passed down to the younger generations by actually demonstrating how to do the action rather than writing instructions down on paper. So oral traditions obviously apply to music, as we'll be talking about today, but oral traditions can apply to several concepts outside of music as well, and a few of those ideas that come to mind are things like dancing, cooking and recipes, games, stories, knitting. These are all pastimes that would have been passed down, from a grandparent or a great-grandparent or a parent or a friend to younger generations, and that actually would have demonstrated the actions rather than writing instructions down on paper. And we'll be talking about the music side of that in the presentation. So obviously the instrument that I'm playing here is a violin, sometimes called a fiddle. Both violin and fiddle are the same instrument, but the names are associated. The different names are associated with the style of music, type of music that you're playing. So if I was to play a piece of classical music by Vivaldi, for example, then you'd refer to it as a violin because I'm playing strictly classical repertoire. But if I was to play the skeleton reel that I demonstrated at the start of the presentation, that's a piece of fiddle music, and so in that case the violin would likely be referred to as a fiddle, but they're both the same instrument. So there are many different instruments used in folk music outside of the violin. The violin is the one that I'll be using today, but there are instruments like the guitar, the mandolin, the bowron, the tin whistle, and lots of other instruments, but we're going to be focusing on the violin today. So when we look at Newfoundland and Labrador in particular, depending on where you go around the island, different areas of the island have different influences in their folk music. So because Newfoundland is an island, we get a lot of influences in our music through other places in the world. And the three biggest places in the world where we get some of our influence from is Ireland, Scotland, and France. So we're going to take a little journey in our car now around the island, and we're going to start on the east coast of the island. So we can say we're in St. John's right now. And the folk music that you hear in St. John's predominantly has quite a bit of Irish influence. And something that's very common with folk music of Irish descent is a specific kind of musical ornament called a cut. So, what is a musical ornament? Well, if you think about a Christmas tree at Christmas time, we decorate our Christmas trees with ornaments. The purpose of doing so is to make the tree more beautiful, is to decorate it, to add an appeal. So we do the same thing with music. Obviously, we're not placing physical ornaments on the instrument, but we're adding certain things to the music to make it sound more decorated. So a specific type of Irish ornament is called a cut. And what a cut is, it's when you have two notes that are the same and you're putting a tiny little note in between them. So I'm going to demonstrate what that sounds like on the violin. So I'm going to play the opening of another Newfoundland fiddle tune called Mussels in the Corner. And I'm going to play it without using any cuts, just so you can get the melody in your head. Okay, so I'm going to play that same thing now, but I'm going to add some cuts in there. Okay, so listen for the difference. So you can hear the difference there. So the second version with the cuts added sounds more ornamental. So that is how to do the Irish cut. So if I demonstrate it again slowly, so I'm playing B, and I'm inserting a really fast C sharp in between the two Bs. So here are the two Bs alone, and there's the cut. So now, we're going to drive in our car. We're going to drive all the way to the other side of the island to the Port-au-Port Peninsula. And the Port-au-Port Peninsula gets a lot of influence from French music, okay? So one element that's really popular in music of French descent is a special type of body percussion called foot clogging. So I'm going to demonstrate what foot clogging first sounds like, and then I'm going to show you how to do it. So you sit on the edge of your chair, and well, first of all, this is what it sounds like. So here it's kind of like a boom, 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 boom kind of pattern. So I'm using both of my feet. I'm using my right toe, left heel, and then right heel. So toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, heel. So that's the sound that it creates. And foot clogging would have been used to accompany this music. So I'm going to demonstrate now what foot clogging sounds like combined with a piece of fiddle music. And this is called Reel de la Pistolie, which is another tune by Emile Benoit, to demonstrate the foot clogging. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it adds quite a bit to the music, as you can hear, and if we back up to a few minutes ago when we were talking about the Irish cut, from a lot of the music you find on the East Coast, it's kind of like the foot clogging can be used or can be looked at as another kind of ornamentation in a way to add to the music to make it more interesting. So what I thought might be cool is to actually show you my feet action so that you can actually see what the foot clogging looks like. So toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, heel. And then sped up, it would look like toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, heel. So I'm going to play the opening of Real Orchestra one more time so you can see my feet in action. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So get the camera up again now. So that is foot clogging. Pretty cool. So now we're going to get in the car again and we're going to drive to the Corduroy Valley. So the Corduroy Valley and the music, the fiddle music and folk music that you would hear coming from Corduroy Valley has a lot of influence from Scottish music. And Scottish music has another type of ornament musical ornament that we're going to talk about, and it's called the Scottish snap. Okay, so the Scottish snap is a really, really interesting one. It's kind of funny because there's a phrase that we can use to help us with the rhythm, how to do it. But I'm going to demonstrate the Scottish snap on my violin, first just so you can hear it. So I'm playing just a singular note, but I'm adding a little snap right before the main note. Okay? So this was really, really common all throughout Scottish music. So there's a phrase that I'm going to teach you to help you remember the rhythm of the Scottish snap. And it goes like this. Haggis turns the strongest stomach. Haggis turns the strongest stomach. Haggis turns the strongest stomach. Now, for those who are not familiar with what haggis is sheep gut. Okay? So I'm going to play you a piece of fiddle music called Danny MacDonald's tune. Okay, this is a Scottish tune. And that rhythm that we were just talking about, haggis turns the strongest stomach, haggis turns the strongest stomach, is very, very prevalent in this tune. Okay? So as I'm playing Danny MacDonald's tune, I want you to try and keep that haggis turns the strongest stomach idea going through your head, okay? So, and try to listen for those ba-bum, ba-bum Scottish snaps in there as well, okay? So this is Danny MacDonald's tune. So that's Danny MacDonald's tune. So again, that's a really, really fun tune to play. And as I was mentioning before I started playing, you can hear the haggis turns the strongest stomach rhythm all the way through, which is really, really cool. So So that's three main influences that we hear very commonly in the music around Newfoundland and Labrador. So Scottish, and French. So just to recap what we were talking about with each influence. So in Irish music, we have the common ornament called the cut. And then on the Port-au-Port Peninsula, when we have music of French influence, we have the foot clogging. Okay. And then, as we were just talking about in the Corduroy Valley, with music of Scottish influence, we have the Scottish snap. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum-ba-da, haggis turns the strongest stomach. All right. So what I thought I would do now, I thought I would play another tune, just because it's super fun, to demonstrate the foot clogging again. So this is a tune called La Bastringue, which uses foot clogging as well. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, another really fun tune. I have to say, playing and foot clogging together, it took a lot of practice when I first learned how to do it, because it's trying to coordinate two difficult things together. You're playing a piece of music that's very fast and involves a lot of bowing and finger changes, and then trying to sync it together with your feet. I always found that really difficult at first, but now, the more you do it, it becomes second nature. And I have to say, it's really, really fun being able to do the two together, and it really, really brings the music together and livens it up. So that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. This is music that's really fun, really dear to my heart. I play it all the time, and hopefully you found it inspiring, as I find this music to be continuously inspiring. So thanks everybody. Bye bye for now.